does that mean? Questions are the answers. And I don't know how long it took me, but it finally hit me. I know what that means. If we ask questions, that is the answer to our problems. And it's so true, even in our own lives. If we ask questions, maybe we're trying to lose weight. We start asking ourselves questions. Uh, what is the problem here? If I'm eating the wrong foods or if I'm just eating too much of the right foods. When do I eat? Is it a night snacking thing or am I eating all through the day? So if we ask ourselves questions, that is the answer. We arrive to answers to help fix things. I thought this was an amazing concept, and I've always kept that in mind. That whenever you're trying to solve a problem, start asking questions. So, how did I use this in my classroom? I'm glad you asked. So, the article is called How to Create Inquiry Based Lessons, not How to Create an Inquiry Based Classroom. And in the article, we talk about why I chose lessons instead of classroom. Because I feel like if we say we're going to create an inquiry based classroom, that sounds too daunting. That task sounds too difficult. But let's just focus on a few lessons at a time. So, you remember that old adage, millions saw the apple fall, but Newton asked why. It sounds like something very cliche, I know, but it actually is a good point. You know, what made Newton ask a question? And from that, we have the whole laws of gravity and everything else, right? So asking questions really is important to teach our students to drive their learning. So let's start with math. The example that I give in math on in this article is I have a whole lesson for third, fourth grade math where every single major concept that they have to learn, that's a huge time period in elementary school because you're learning fractions, multiplication of multi-digit numbers, you're learning decimals, you're learning multiplying. Um, I don't think you actually, in Georgia at least, you don't actually learn multiplying decimals at that age, but you learn adding and subtracting decimals. It's a big deal. So what I did, because kids are like, why do I need to know what a fraction is? Why do I need to know what a decimal is? So I created all of their lessons on mysteries. One week we were working on a mystery of an art heist. The next week we were working on a mystery of a chemical factory blowing up. And I went and found a YouTube video of an actual chemical factory blowing up. And I said, we're trying to solve this problem. And I made up a lot of mathematic problems based on our mystery. It was complete with suspects. It was complete with um, crimes and detectives, and they were the detectives. This is a way to create inquiry-based math lessons. They need to find who added too many chemicals to which tank, and so we had chart analysis. This is the chart of how much chemicals they were supposed to put in. This is how much is missing from the storeroom. It was really, really fun to create. Sometimes it was challenging, but not too much. And the kids absolutely ate it up. They loved it. So that's my example for math. You can do some type of whodunit to drive their curiosity, and they get into it very, very much. Of course, they say things like, I think she did it because she looks guilty. And then you say, all right, guys, we have to prove it. Let's prove it with math. I actually got that idea from a show called Numbers, and it was an old show. Well, not that old, but it's not running currently, and where a math whiz solved tons of crimes in California based on math. And so I thought kids would love to be that detective using math. The example that I give for science is I tried to make an abstract idea concrete. So we had to study the Black Forest in Germany and the problem of acid rain. This is also a problem in Canada that I had to study with my middle school students in social studies. Well, first of all, many of my students had never left the state of Georgia. Most of them had never left, the United States. Probably all of them had never left the United States. So studying a problem in Germany is a little irrelevant in their minds. But what I did, instead of showing them just pictures, some teachers think, oh, I'm being so, you know, um, I'm integrating technology because I'm going to pull up pictures on the smartboard of German forests that are destroyed by acid rain. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's not very captivating to students' attention. They see millions of pictures all the time. But what we did is we took some plants that I bought from the local hardware store and we planted them. We watered one of those plants with fresh water every other day or every time the soil got dry, it needed to be watered. We watered the second plant with half lemon juice and half water. And we watered the last one with like totally lemon juice. How cheap is this experiment? $3 or $4 for a pack of 6 plants and $2 for a bottle of lemon juice. But the question, the inquiry was, which one of these plants will die first, or which one will thrive the most? So they had to make a hypothesis, then they kept a chart in their writing journals every day. And that was the question that drove that lesson. So then they understood that Germany's problem with acid rain is a big deal. This is what happens to their vegetation because of this acid rain. My example for social studies was how did salt help an entire country gain their independence? What we were studying was Mahatma Gandhi and the Salt March. They needed to understand, first of all, why would salt be a big deal in any country? And so I wanted them to taste the difference between a salted saltine cracker and an unsalted cracker. So they sell crackers without salt. And so I gave them both crackers and I asked them which one tastes better. And we made a chart. Almost everyone said the salted cracker tastes better. So then I could say, this is why the whole nation of India and any nation wants this seasoning. Everybody wants salt. It makes your food it tastes a lot better. And then we talked about how Great Britain had put a salt tax on India and made it illegal for them to produce their own salt. And that's why Mahatma Gandhi could use that to rouse up the nationality, the Indians, why he could really appeal to them from something so small. I think without that lesson, the students would have been like, why did they care so much about salt? Why did they walk miles and miles and miles to the sea for salt? What difference does it make? My last example is in English language arts, and I am using the example of my son's 6th grade teacher. I left the classroom about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Maybe they were already using podcasts in ELA classes when I left the classroom. I just didn't know it. Or that's a new innovation. She had this podcast called Mars Patel, and she would release the episodes one at a time, and it was a mystery podcast, and the students were so into it. They were waiting for the next episode to come out. This is an inquiry-based lesson because, again, the mystery, they're wondering who done it, what happened to this school, what happened to these characters. And they also had to do a lot of prediction and inferencing. So questions were constantly driving this ELA lesson. They were also getting their writing skills in. They were practicing their writing skills because they had to respond to the episode, to the questions that the teacher posed in Google Classroom. So these are just some quick examples of how truly using small changes of using questions to increase curiosity in your class is doable. Now, the thing about this is I gave you examples that I use mostly in elementary and early middle school, so fourth through sixth grade. However, you can use inquiry based lessons in every single grade.